A big thank you comes to you today from Dead Rabbit via Patreon for his long support of the channel. Narset versus Omnath with a typical Magic Online one-lander. We will mulligan. It's funny, I've been playing some Magic Arena Historic Brawl again recently, and you hardly ever start with a one-lander on there. Okay, yeah, it's a slow start, but we'll try keeping that. Get rid of Call of the Coppercoats. And we are on the play, so we'll get some colours down on turn 1. No turn 1 dork from our opponents, so Sulphur Falls will come in untapped. We can get down a tapped Field of the Dead while we're doing nothing on turn 2. Hold up the Path to Exile. If our opponent gets down Omnath next turn, I will bolt it. But getting down a pretty slow turn 3 Omnath by the looks of it. It is Sylvan Scrying, searching for any land. And it's a Yavimaya to fix the green. Might care about Forest Walk perhaps. Alright, and another land in Polluted Delta, so Sulphur Falls into the Monastery Mentor, ready for us to cast non-creature spells into. And it's Green Sun Zenith, where X is 1 now. So going after a Llanowar Elves in order to ramp, still 6 cards in hand over there. And we see a pair of Goblins, so I think getting Summoning Sickness away from the Narset should be fine. We can tap this down for a green, but we need the coloured mana, so crack the Delta. And it can be a Tundra because we're a little shy on white mana. And if they've got a buff spell for the Monastery Mentor, then so be it. We'll swing in towards the Dork. Canopy Tactician. Don't know if this is an Elf Tribal deck or if they're literally just playing Dorks here. Might be trying to ramp into something particularly big that they've got in their hand. And Ancient Stirrings. Revealing with that a Gaia's Cradle, which is always frightening. Okay, a Fiery Confluence is a decent one. Could deal a couple of damage to the Llanowar Elves. I don't think it really matters though. Let's just go for Hordling Outburst for now. And that will activate Prowess on our creatures. It will make a Prowess token to the Monastery Mentor as well. And we can start landing some damage on our opponent. Narset the Enlightened is going to go after... yeah, the Hordling Outburst again should be fine. Need to keep an eye on the stuff that our opponent has in the bin as well. So once again activating a bunch of Prowess and generating tokens. And it might be with multiple buffs on this that we're actually looking at going wide on our opponent next turn. We'll have to see. Mono green, I don't expect him to be able to wipe the board. Might be able to get into an Ugin or something. Playing out that Gaia's Cradle as you would expect. Currently taps for 2. We'll always tap for at least 1 mana thanks to the Yavimaya. Might be the reason our opponent tutored for that because he had this in hand. So Omnath, Locus of Mana into play. Followed by a Sword of Vengeance. We'll give haste, trample, vigilance, first strike and +2 to power. Our opponent can't buff it enough for it to be relevant, but equipping the sword anyway, 1 mana free and just deciding to float it, so not leaving this up as a blocker is pretty risky. It turns out I think we can get our opponent anyway. Grab a tap land with the Arid Mesa. Obviously could have gone for the Path to Exile there, but we'll do it on this turn. If we draw into a land, which we don't, a Perplexing Test can bounce all of the non-tokens, and we would deal 12, 14 and 16 damage to our opponent thanks to the Prowess. I think we just finish it off with you see a pair of Goblins. So Prowess is going to buff everything first, and then we'll get +2 to power on this thing. And just to rub salt in the wound, we'll go for the path now onto the Omnath. So Prowess triggers again a whole bunch. And yep, that's enough for our opponent to scoop it up, so... as you can see, the tokens alone are currently 3 3s. They're about to be 5 3s, and then we cast this thing again. So then they will be 5, 6, 7 3s. And yeah, definitely enough for us to go wide on our opponent there. We'll play another one. Okay, up against the exact same opponent. Brainstorm on turn 1 is fine. Pongify for the Omnath is good as well. So just play out the Volcanic Island and we'll settle with a Brainstorm. Hopefully get into some white mana. Okay, no, gets us into a Sol Ring though. Saheeli has 2 colours, so yeah, probably getting down the Dragon Fodder next turn would be a good idea. It can be Pongify on top, then the Fiery Confluence, because we'll be able to cast the Confluence thanks to the Sol Ring, and our opponent might get down some fast mana. So draw into that again, and it can be a Mountain, into Sol Ring, into the Dragon Fodder. And we know we're not casting our commander anytime soon, so our opponent's got time to go off here. Gaia's Cradle doesn't tap for any mana, which is always the risk you run with that land. So drawing to the Pongify we knew was there. I think we can take the turn off here to get down Saheeli. And we don't have to worry about haste from a green player, I wouldn't have thought. We'll just swing in with the Goblin tokens, start pecking away. Our opponent's got the Avamar again though, so either was really lucky there or just had it in his opening hand. Nissa Vastwood Seer will search up a plains, or a forest even. And we draw into another land. It is not a white source though. Just get the Balmor into play so that it can start buffing our stuff eventually, hopefully. And the Keep can make another token for us if we don't Pongify. Alright, there's a Scoot Swarm. I think that's well worth blowing up with a Pongify. Can probably do it next turn though. I'll hold up the Keep. Can't stop my opponent from making landfall off the back of the Nissa. The 3 toughness from the Balmor should be able to hold our opponent's stuff off though. They swing in with the Nissa. I might go for Pongify to buff our tokens. Yeah, they wisely decide not to do that. Alright, there is a command tower which fixes the white mana, meaning that we can go for our commander and start getting some prowess onto our stuff. So I think I'm going to hold off on the Pongify here. If I can go for 2 damage onto each creature, we might be able to have all our creatures survive here thanks to the prowess. So I'll take the floating mana and I'm just going to make another Keep. Yeah, we can go Pongify, Fiery Confluence, buff all these things up to 3 toughness and blow up all our opponent's stuff, hopefully. Another insect token on landfall. Obviously means the guy's Cradle is really good. Taps for 4 mana into an Omnath floating 1. And then Lightning Greaves means that we can't target the Omnath with the Pongify, unfortunately. But they've only got 3 mana. And if they're going to use it now, they don't have the Omnath buffed high enough. But yeah, looks like they're just leaving it be. Okay, and into a Sacred Foundry. So if we go Pongify and Brainstorm maybe, we can give +2/+2 to all the stuff. They'll block 1 token, but not particularly worried about that. And then we can look at what a Fiery Confluence looks like afterwards. So we'll turn everything in sideways here, I think. We're looking to wipe our opponent's board anyway, so we'll not worry about the Saheeli. Brainstorm obviously allows us to look at more cards as well. So casting the Brainstorm off the back of the Narset triggers all the prowess. Saheeli will make an untapped servo token, and it's +1 to the power of all of our creatures. And then we draw more. That is a Roar of Resistance. Our land would be nice to make this turn, although we've got Mana Crypt. Yeah, let's go Roar on top and the Mana Crypt. I don't think we'll need this turn. The Consider on the Surveil is decent as well. Could always throw away the Mana Crypt off the top, I suppose. Alright, deciding not to do any blocks is risky, but fine with me. Let's go Pongify onto the Scoot Swarm so that we can blow up the token that it makes. Obviously this buffs everything up as well. I don't think we can just straight up get our opponent here. Then we can Consider. And we might be able to actually. That's a 7/4. Yeah, 7/6. A 6/4. A 9/7 commander. Yeah, might be able to get them actually. Mana Crypt can go into the graveyard. And yeah, get our opponent down to -4 on deciding not to block. Yeah, could have thrown away the insect tokens. I don't see that they would have really mattered. Maybe our opponent was looking to go for an Alpha Strike overrun effect of his own. But yeah, all we were looking to do there was go Fiery Confluence, 4 damage to all our opponent's creatures after that, or every creature in play. Ours would have likely survived. Yeah, a couple of pretty commanding games there. I think we'll try one more, see if we can get a little bit more interaction going. Alright, that's one way to get more interaction. The very powerful Kodama and Jalanra combo here. And we've got mana, so that's good enough for me. No fast mana so far. We get into another land. We are on the draw. It can just be a tap land with the Marsh Flats. We'll hold it up just in case our opponent wants to play around it, which I doubt he does. Ancient Tomb for some acceleration into the Jalanra straight away. Volcanic Island, draw into the Jeska's Will. We'll go for some ramp with the Signet, and that gets our opponent into Radagast the Brown. Showing us with that a Cogler. Alright, and that is a Jeskai Charm, so 4 damage to a target opponent, target creature on top of the library. Yeah, I think we... yeah, does our opponent have a mana is the question, because if he does, it's Cogler blowing up our Narset, and we can't protect it with the Boros Charm. So maybe we just go for this and get rid of the commander. Or maybe we could just foretell it and do it next turn. So Yeah, let's go for the foretell. Dragon fodder as well. Our opponent did have the mana, so it was right not to get down the commander, I think. Straight into Kodama, now revealing an Ashaya, and we'll take the damage from the Radagast. Alright, another land, we've got the Chaos Warp. Unfortunately, this is only 5 damage, our opponent's got a lot of 6 toughness creatures available. So do we go for Jeska's Will, make 7 mana, and then we'll be able to go for the Charm and the Warp? I think we have to do that. Chaos Warp reveals a Rampant Growth on top, so getting rid of the Kodama's nice. A Jeska's Charm. We'll put the other commander on top of the library, lightly into the command zone, and yes. And we might as well swing in with these Goblin tokens. We just have to hope that we can land our commander without it getting blown up. Our opponent's probably going to make another land straight into Kogla next turn anyway. But if we can manage to make another mana, we will be able to hold up the Boros Charm, hopefully. Nature's Law will make a land. Our opponent can be reactionary to us, is the problem. And then it is Nylea, going to give trample to everything. A Mosswort Bridge into play as well, shouldn't be too difficult for our opponent to crack. Alright, there's a Preordained, so we might as well... we'll go for our commander first, because we'll be able to trigger Prowess on the tokens, land a little bit more damage. And we'll attempt to get into a land here off the Preordained, but our opponent can just go after the Kogla now. Alright, a Lightning Helix isn't going to be any good in this matchup. Cryptic Command could be useful, but yeah, I think we need more of a means of getting back into our commander, so even a land could be better than this. And there we are, an Arid Mesa. Don't have any protection for Narset or haste, unfortunately, so yeah, not going to do too well this game, I don't think. Oh, I had it in my head that that's a 2-2 all of a sudden for some reason. Just threw away a token for no good reason whatsoever. Don't think it'll matter. I'm not very hopeful that we'll win this one. Went straight through to the second main, making another mana. And yep, there's the Kogla as we expected. Radagast reveals a Shigeki. Alright, Sol Ring isn't bad, so play the Sol Ring. That can obviously be blown up straight away by the Kogla, but might be better going after the Sol Ring than our colours, to be honest. Now, it's noteworthy that this is an instant, so we could chump block the Kogla at one point with a Goblin token and then go for the extra 5 damage to get rid of that. Nylea is animated now as well. Just hoping that we don't see the back of Narset again. Mosswort Bridge can now be activated thanks to Nylea being animated, so manages to get into a Kolvori. And that triggers the Radagast again for a Selvala. Radagast doing some work over there. Tapping into Kamal is probably going to be close to the end for us. Shows us a Tarask with the Radagast. Kamal's +3/+3 and trample on everything, and they can swing in with 3 creatures here, so there's 19 damage there alone. 28 and 33, so doesn't quite have us, goes after the Sol Ring as we expected. But yeah, there's absolutely nothing we're doing here. Go down to 3 with the Arid Mesa, get in a tapped Shockland, and yeah, just draw into another land, so play the coast. And shall we just go Jeska's Will for the fun of it? Our opponent has 7 mana held up. Or 7 lands in hand, I should say. So we'll swing in here. Oh, it needed to be buffed up 1. I thought it was 3 or less. It's obviously less power than with the Narset, so can't go after the Jeska's Will anyway. Alright, just preordain for the fun of it. Could have gone for the Boros Charm in order to get the Jeska's Will there. And it's just a couple of lands on top, so we'll get rid of both of those. And there we see a Lightning Greaves. And we might as well cast this just for the fun of it. Which means we can't hold up the Boros Charm, but 5 damage to all of our opponent's creatures. Only gets rid of 2 of them, and we lose our commander in the process. So into the command zone it goes. Hopefully we can look at the top few cards of our library that we would have got off the Jeska's Will, if I'd played it correctly, but like I said before, I don't think we have much hope of winning this one anyway. So there we see the Tarask, which does have haste, and it is going to animate the Nylea again. Blows up all of our non-land permanents and takes us down to -20. So I think we got a good variance of different types of games there. One in which we got smashed and a couple in which we did the smashing. And I think we're against mono green the entire video actually. Anyway, hopefully the few hundred of you that decided to click on this video enjoyed a visit to an older commander. Big thank you to the patrons for their tireless support as ever. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.